By mid January, it happens every year. You wake up, your goals are set, your planner is full, and by about 3 p.m., nothing's done. Most people blame themselves and get into, I need more discipline. But here's the truth: discipline alone doesn't fix execution. The problem isn't a lack of willpower, it's that knowing and doing operate on completely different rules. Hello. Welcome back to JC's Learning Edge. I'm so glad that you all are here for another deep dive. And this is our second lesson on our new series of the execution gap. And specifically, today we're going to be talking about why execution fails even when you care. Because there are times where you don't get stuff done, even when you actually had all intentions to get it done. So it's not even really just you having a nonchalant attitude about it. Things still just didn't go as planned. So listen, you want to tune in for the next about 5 minutes. Let's get right into it. My first point today is your default day works against you. Now, y'all say it with me. Your default day works against you. Execution doesn't, fail because you don't want it badly enough, as I was saying. It fails because your default day wasn't built for your specific goal. And your default day is how you wake up, what you do first, what holds your attention, and what you do when you're tired. Most people try to force goals on top of a day designed for distractions, fatigue, or self defeating habits. For example, let's say you're in school, you want to study consistently, but you only study when you have time. You scroll first thing in the morning. Your materials aren't ready. You didn't do any preparation the night before, and you wait until you're exhausted to try to study. When you do things like that, every session will feel like a battle. And that's not a discipline problem. It's a design problem. So here's a quick micro action step. Take 5 minutes today to identify one friction point in your day that blocks your goal and then remove it. And here's the shift, most people miss. Don't ask, why can't I stay consistent? Ask, what does my day currently train me to do? I'm going to let that sink in. Don't ask, why can't I stay consistent? Ask, what does my day currently train me to do? If your environment trains distraction, execution will reflect distraction. If your environment trains avoidance, execution will follow avoidance. So alignment is simple. Just make the right action the easiest action. Have your tools ready. Plan the night before. Make the next step obvious. Make the decision ahead of time. Then execution becomes more of, routine, and you don't have so much resistance. Now, listen, this the last thing I want to say on this point. You don't execute based on what you want. You execute based on what your day makes easy. I'm gonna let that sink in. You don't execute. You don't execute based on what you want. You execute based on what your day makes easy. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is motivation isn't meant to last. Motivation it's an emotional energy. Execution requires repeatable behavior. The mistake that most people make is waiting to feel ready, waiting for things to get, to feel perfect. But feelings are inconsistent by design. For example, you're motivated on Sunday, you're optimistic on Monday, then you're stuck on Wednesday, right? We've all been there. Execution doesn't come from feeling good. I feel like doing it. No, it doesn't come from that. It comes from removing friction. If your plan requires high motivation every day, then it's not a plan, it's a wish. So here's your micro action step. Identify one part of your routine today that depends on motivation, depends on how you feel, if you feel like doing it, and automate or prep it So it happens without energy spikes, without you having to feel motivated. It's the next best, easiest, option. The next, it's the next obvious step. So I want you to reframe this I want you to reframe this. Motivation is the spark, but your systems are the engine. The systems will keep you going. Motivation to get you started. Now, my third point, self-blame keeps the execution gap open. This is the part that many don't talk about or they tiptoe around, because when execution fails, people attack themselves, and I've been guilty of it. They get into, I'm lazy, I lack discipline, something is wrong with me, I can never be nothing, and all this and that. But self-blame doesn't create progress. It creates avoidance. And avoidance widens the execution gap. Now listen, am I telling you not to hold yourself accountable? No. Accountability is necessary in everybody's life, especially if you plan on being successful. What I'm saying is, let it be accountability, like I have to get this done, versus you just attacking yourself, beating yourself down, saying disparaging words about yourself. Because the moment you stop blaming yourself, you can finally start building solutions. If anything, you're just going in a cycle. Okay, we understand. You didn't do what you set out to do. We understand. You failed at this. We understand it. Let's flip the page. Let's flip the chapter. Instead of just focusing on the failure, which a lot of us do, which causes us to quit, let's focus. Let's start writing the comeback story. Let's get up after we've fallen. And that being said, your micro step for this section is, next time you feel stuck, I want you to take a pause, take time, and ask, what friction can I remove, or what system can I adjust? You need to have strategy. You need to have strategy over feelings, strategy over your own judgment, strategy over self-blame. And this framework of alignment, reducing friction, executing without relying on motivation, is exactly why I wrote Graduating Half the Time. It's not about doing more necessarily. It's about setting yourself up so execution becomes normal and not heroic. So if this conversation is resonating with you, this book shows exactly how to apply it to your life practically. Because it's one thing to hear an inspiring word. It's another thing to really apply it or let it spark transformation in your life so you can get the results that you set out to get. Now, as I close, one truth I want you to understand is that you don't really have an execution problem. You have an alignment problem. I'm gonna say that again. You don't just have an execution problem. It's not as black and white as that. You have an alignment problem. So next week, we're taking it further with ownership. We're going to talk about ownership. When you stop waiting to feel ready and start deciding who's responsible for the outcome, that's where the shift happens. That's where everything changes. And that being said, this is the Execution Gap series. And listen, we're just getting started. This was just the first week. So I encourage you to come back, and don't come back alone. Bring a friend. And as always, success doesn't shout, it shows up. I'll see you next week. Apply what I've told you already and watch the results come. Bye-bye.